Yes, we are now going to take several questions, and please address the question. Is it either addressed to the panel or particularly to somebody? Thus allowing us to be able to reply back there. Let's start from this side there. I see the hand here. Yep.
And this next question is addressed to Mr. Marukyan. In the continuation of the constitutional reforms, the topic of constitutional reforms, if I'm not mistaken, I'm not mistaken, but I'm sorry. Officially, you're against the constitutional reforms, right? I'm not wrong, yeah? Yeah, okay. So there are two contradicting factors which I cannot understand. First, that is, you are a member of those parliamentarians who do not accept the constitutional reforms, but on the other hand, all these years you have been a non-partisan parliamentarian, but just recently you initiated your party. Is it a kind of a safeguard for you for future elections? Because we know without a party you will not be able to be re-elected in the parliament, or is it not? Or do you have a clear vision of your party and the Bright Armenia? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Avnik, for your questions. Let's take a few more questions. I would suggest, guys, to follow, please, let's make it in this way here. We are starting from that side and we are circling here. So, yes, the girl there.
Hello everyone, I am Armine Sarkyan. I am studying at Yerevan State University, Faculty of International Relations, and my question is addressed particularly to Mr. Marukyan. And I'm going to continue the topic of the constitutional reforms and the ongoing process. In one of your interviews given to Azad Tutun, you mentioned that you and your initiative, Bright Armenia, is concerned particularly about the chapter of the draft constitution concerning human rights issues. But Ms. Manasyan elaborated quite a detailed speech on the positive changes in the chapter concerning human rights. So would you elaborate what are you against particularly and what is bad about that? Thank you.
Thank you, Armine.
Okay, Mr. Edmon Marukyan, I would like to know what differences are going to be in the new agreement comparing to association agreement and the CFTA. Thank you.
David Fipoyan, Head of Informational Analytical Center for Risk Assessment of Food Chain. So my question is for Mr. Edmon Marukyan. So in European Union, particularly the hierarchy and executive political power of EU institutions is a model and is a power of EU. So in Armenia, so I have noticed that sometimes it's really a very unclear situation, and our parliament and our government are working as a separate institutions. So, for example, yesterday you have seen that it's possible to have even law, a draft of the law, without any public hearings, and you have noticed very well that even civic society NGOs are against for that legal act. And the second one, which is more important by the point of view of legal hierarchy and executive political power. So our parliament is adopting laws, and after our government, without any actions, is not adopting legal acts, and it means that sometimes our parliament is only adopting laws. So my question is that in European Union, while the member state is not adopting government decree or decrees, yeah, so they are taking actions. In an Armenian case, I have never seen such kind of actions against our government. So what are you thinking for this case? Thank you.
Thank you a lot for your questions. What I would suggest now, as we got already a bunch of questions here, just to try to reply them back. If you can just consolidate some of them in one remark, it would be great. Like, who would like to start? Edmon? You are volunteering? Yeah.
I got, I think, 4 questions, and I'll try to. First one was about Bright Armenia initiative, why I initiated, why we initiated, and is it because of my place that I'm going to lose in Vanazor because of the constitutional reforms, or is it just for general politics? I should say that the idea of creating and starting new initiative and Bright Armenia. So it was before I had this idea, before the constitutional reform talks even started. But I was already, sure that we will do this when we voted in the parliament for the Eurasian Union Agreement, because I was so frustrated to realize that 7 members, including me, voted against, and the rest, more than 100 MPs, voted for. So I realized that in our political system, we do not have checks and balances of political forces, different visions, different dreams about Armenia's future. And I realized that we have a big pro-Russian party in Armenia, which is ruling party, and we have small different parties who are also in the same direction. But they are opposing of this big one. I don't know why. Just for implementing their own dream, which is not different than the dream of this big party. So, and also there are some small parties that I should give a credit, that they are pro-European and they have this agenda, but for the influence and for the working with the people in Armenia, they are not successful. They didn't succeed. So, and I started to talk with my friends, colleagues about this initiative, and we are already preparing our founding assembly. And it doesn't matter the constitutional reform will be passed or not, the Bright Armenia Party will become a reality in Armenia. It's not for saving my place for just one mandate in the parliament, because according to my activities, I can save this place being in any other list of proportional, political parties, but I don't want to do this because my vision is different from others, because the vision of my team, friends that we are initiated this political party, are different. Otherwise, we can join anyone, and then we will have small share but small responsibilities, and then we will sleep more than we are sleeping now, and we will see our kids more that we are, seeing them. And this is about, I think, about your question. I think I answered. For the second question about the constitutional reform, I voted against in a standing committee of State and Legal Affairs, which I'm a member, and then in a plenary session I was not in Armenia. I criticized the chapter of human rights in a draft. Why? Because I believe that the current constitution has higher standards of human rights protection and guarantees than the proposed one. So the counter-argument against this, they say that we took all European standards, and they are right. They took standards from the European Convention of Human Rights and Fundamental Freedoms. But what happened, national constitutions, so the specialists of constitutional law knows this, national constitutions always they have higher standards than the international law, than the international human rights law. That's why I said that this is a step backward in terms of, taking international standards and leaving our national ones, which were higher. Maybe there is no big problem in this case if even these European standards will be implemented properly and human rights will be protected and guaranteed properly. But all our issues is in the political system, and we believe that we should change the political system, and then human rights will be guaranteed. It's not a question of the text in this case. The other question was about differences between today's negotiations and like the legal basis, the new legal basis and the association agreement and DCFTA. So association agreement includes DCFTA, Deep and Comprehensive Trade Agreement, which was giving Armenia access to 500 million market, and also which will create in Armenia an aura of a free, competitive economic place, and then we will get foreign direct investments. But we lost this chance. This new agreement will not give this opportunity, will not create an aura. This new agreement will be about like a political part of the association agreement, which is talking about fighting against corruption, supporting judiciary, civil society support, maybe free airspace development, something like that. But economic part of the document will not be included. So we will still, we will be isolated from the civilized world based on Eurasian Union agreement. And it's a big difference. And I said that it's not going to replace the association agreement or DCFTA. It's just something. It's just a small candy instead of a big cake. So we'll you know, try to survive with this small candy and be happy until something will be changed. And we are the changers. We will change, really. I believe in it. So about the same question, where I see, or have I a clear vision about Right Armenia initiative? Sure, you know, whatever we start end goal in mind. So the end goal of Right Armenia is European model state. We want to develop European model state in Armenia and to develop our statehood, you know, through this channel, because we see the development through this channel only. We don't see any alternatives in terms of Eurasian Union or in other regional frames. We don't see. So we believe that we will have a good parliamentary faction in the next parliament, and it will be very strong oppositional power there. It will challenge others. It will bring a political balance, bring a different vision and dream about Armenia's future. So this is our vision about Bright Armenia Party. And for the Armenian parliaments and the executive branch cooperation, I would say, you know, I would argue that in Armenia, what we got very weak legislative branch, we got very weak judiciary, and very strong, powerful executive branch, which is controlling everything and which is not under any surveillance, which is not challenged by the judiciary, which is not challenged by the parliamentary branch. And that's why we have these kind of problems, and we have these kind of problems every day. And, you know, MPs who are concerned about this, my colleagues and me in the parliament, we did everything for somehow fixing these issues. But it's not possible in this kind of political system. So we have to change the system first. We have to bring checks and balances in political level. Then it will have its influence on the level of the constitutional branches of the government. It doesn't matter, again, the reform will be passed or not. So the political system and atmosphere should be changed in Armenia. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marukyan, for very valuable remarks. Let's agree about the procedure. Identifying yourself, making your sharp question. We do not need your remark. Sorry, just a question, just to be able to reply to everything. Thank you.
I'm Marina Hartunian from Yerevan State College of Humanities from the Department of Tourism. And my question is to Mr. Edmon Marukyan. And what would be the perspectives of the new agreement for the government and also for the population if Armenia signs it. Thank you.
Thank you, Marina. The next one, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Katie Gurieva. I'm studying in UWC Diligent. I have a question regarding EU-Russia influence in Armenia. And I was wondering, to what extent does the arguable deterioration of relations between the EU and Russia complicate Armenia's attempts to integrate into the EU? And if there are a set of universal values, which I believe there are, instead of polarized EU values versus Russia values, do you think it's possible for Armenia to balance both, or do you think that it will have to reach a choice at some point? Thank you.
I'm Margarita Parsamian from UWC Diligent, and I want to ask a question to Mr. Marukyan, if you're not against. Yes. So you mentioned in your speech that Armenian government every time has to work to promote or some kind to teach EU values. But my question is this: how can our government promote and some kind of teach EU values if our government doesn't even share it, as we can see in our life? And as Mr. Ghazinian, I'm so sorry, says that we share more Eurasian values. That's why we are right now in Eurasian Economic Union. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next one, please.
Hi, my name is Tia Hardiman. I study at UWC Dilishan, and my question is related to some things that were said today. We talked a lot about improving tolerance and diversity in Armenia, as well as working together. And my question is, are these not Caucasian values? And is it in Armenian interest at the time to also improve relations within the region, within the two closed borders that Armenia has at the moment, instead of jumping directly to a European salvation, as it were, for economic help? Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Angela Dragonic. I'm coming from Serbia and I'm studying in UWC Diligent. My question is to Mr. Edmon Marukyan. Okay. So in July last year, the Armenian police made a proposal to amend the Code of Administrative Offenses to establish a fine of up to $4,000 for promoting non-traditional sexual relationships related to LGBT human rights. So my question is, how can you explain promotion of human rights in society when such security apparatus as police has that proposal? Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, who is the next gentleman? Who is volunteering? Okay, let's really try to keep it. Yes, you have your questions.
Yeah, a few questions. I will try to be short. The first question was about perspectives of the new agreement with the European Union. You know, as I said before, it's a legal basis for saving whatever we have right now and opening cooperation in not an economic field, but in a field of fighting against corruption, civil society support, judicial reform support, and some other spheres. For the scientists, as a perspective, I can say that I really hope that European Union will continue its programs in Armenia and for Armenia. And also, I should state that after Armenia's U-turn, European Union didn't close the door for Armenia, and the programs which were allocated and the funds for Armenia, they didn't shut down. There, of course, as Ambassador said, there are money for Armenia for the association agreement and for the development of our economic field and the reform for the economic field, but this money already will not allocated for Armenia, maybe some part of it for different programs. For the second question, it was about, how can our government support the European values? I was not talking about government. I was talking about NGOs, political parties, civil society actors, and maybe the government in the future, I hope, will support these values. Today's government, today's ruling party, I don't think that they share these values. Maybe, they are imitating that we share, trying to show that we share, but I don't believe in it. And I was not talking about the government. For closed borders, we got a very good question, that we have two closed borders, no diplomatic ties and relations with our neighbors. Even with one neighbor, we have like frozen or not frozen, and we are talking about European integration, yes. But we understand that in whole South Caucasus, we can have peace when we will have democracy in this region. We will have peace if we will have European integration, not only for Armenia, but also for our neighbors. So we have many, many problems, and we would love to have open borders and diplomatic ties and relations with our neighbors, but we are ready for it. Even today's ruling party and government tried to do, about protocols with Turkey, but it's still we failed, because the whole region, as a human rights specialist, I would say the whole region is not a democratic one. So we have to have, first of all, democracy in the region, protection of human rights, fundamental freedoms, and then the other problems will be solved. So there was a question about ideology. So like we don't have ideology. Why we should have ideology, stuff like that. I think we should have dream about our country's future, and personal dream where we see ourselves after, let's say, 10, 20, 30 years. And as I understand, our problem is not in ideology, which will unite us. It's in a dream which will unite us. So this is my belief. But I think my colleagues will answer about the dream. As for the LGBT human rights question, that please introduce the draft law. So it was a couple of years ago. It was just a suggestion which was put in a police website. It didn't come to the parliament. It didn't go to the government even, and it was just a proposal, and it was taken out. And I don't know where is it. So we don't have that kind of laws. We cannot have that kind of laws, because we are under the jurisdiction of the European Convention of Human Rights, under the jurisdiction of the European Court of Human Rights, and all rights guaranteed by the European Convention are guaranteed also in Armenia. So for LGBT or other minorities, and for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marukyan. Maybe Artur, you will continue the reflection here.